and I was with my wife and small child, and the guy pulls me over and he says, or actually he didn't even pull me over. I was pulled over the side of the road dropping somebody off at the bus stop, and this cop drives by me, and then he stops and flicks on his cherries and backs up, and I'm sitting at the bus stop, and I'm like, what did I do? I'm not even moving here. So he comes up to the window and says whatever, and I'm like, what did I do? And he's like, I need to see some ID. Well, what did I do? Then he steps back and he gets all puffy and he's like this, and he says, I need to see some ID. And so this is all kind of new to me, and I'm not really going to push it. My wife and child are in the car, and so I'm like, all right. So I pull out my driver's license and I give it to him. And he's like, I'm going to have to ask you to step out of the car, and we go through the whole rigmarole. And so I'm like, what's going on? Well, you got some outstanding parking tickets. And I'm like, well, these aren't even criminal offenses. Why am I getting arrested? And you know where I live. So what's all this about? Well, whatever, we got to get you to sign this promise to appear and whatever. And I'm like, well, and if I don't sign it, what happens? And he says, well, then you go to jail. So my wife at the time is from the States, and she hadn't got her driver's license and all that stuff. So I'm like, well, I can't leave my child stranded at the side, and my wife stranded at the side of the road, so I'll sign the paper. So I sign it, and I sign it under duress, and that's fine. They let me go, and I go home. So anyway, that's that, and then so I have to go to court. I've got this court date. So we go into court, and Rob came with me, and he was acting as my agent. So we walk in the courtroom, and the prosecutor stands up when she hears Rob say his name. We don't want Mr. Menard in here. So I'm like, well, that's interesting. So this goes on for like a year and a half. 9 months of the time, she's trying to get Rob to not be my agent. So then we ask a constitutional question. One of the questions in it was basically, can a cop use a child as ransom to get assigned security interest? And, we thought it was a pretty straightforward question. I mean, what's the answer to that? Obviously, they can't do that. But anyway, so we got no reply, or we got a reply, actually, and that's in the book. We got a reply from one of the attorney generals or somebody, and so saying that we're not going to come and do anything with this. So as it turns out, we end up going to provincial court because we were in traffic court in front of a JP. You go to provincial court for a constitutional question. So we get in front of the judge, and right away the prosecutor stands up. We're not letting Mr. Menard we don't want him to be the agent. We don't want to talk to him. We don't want him in the courtroom. And then she said, the JP from the other court said that he wasn't allowed to be a lawyer. He was doing all this stuff, and she's lying. She lied right to the court. And I turned to Rob and I said, am I allowed to do that? And he's like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, well, this is ridiculous. So anyway, that was the provincial court, and they end up adjourning that, and we have to come back a little while later. So that was another interesting story in of itself, and that'll be in a book that we're working on. But so eventually we go back, and I now have done all my freeman stuff. I've sent in my notice of understanding because I've learned a few things, obviously, in this thing. One, they don't follow their own rules. They want me to follow these rules, and they use all these words and stuff against me. And so I'm like, well, I don't want to play this game. And then I've also learned, obviously, that these words, I can't understand these words. These are words written in another language. You have to be a lawyer to understand them. I can't understand them. How can I, in any conscience whatsoever, be bound by something I can't understand? And secondly, there are thousands of pages of documents and stuff, and it's like, well, how easy is this? This was made for us, and it's supposed to help us, and it's ours, and we made it so we can't even understand it. So anyway, Rob's going to talk about the whole lawyers and all that stuff later on, but I can't understand it. There's no way that I can understand it unless I'm a member of the bar, so I'm not going to be bound by it. And so we go into court, and I go in as a free man. I've done all my stuff. Rob walks in. The judge right away says, we can't hear you. So then we go outside with the prosecutor, and she says, she says, are you going to come in? I said, well, what's your name? I need your bar card. I need this information. And are you claiming that I'm the accused or the charged party or whatever we said? And she wouldn't say anything. She just laughs, and she walks back into the courtroom. And so we get into the courtroom, and they start their trial, an ex parte trial, while I'm sitting in there. And they're not pointing to me as the accused party. So I'm thinking, great. They're not. I'm in the courtroom. They're looking for a guy named Christy Robert Scott, and they're going through the thing, and they're not looking at me. So I'm not the guy they want. So this is part of my This is how I want. They don't want to talk to me. They don't want to talk. When they said they don't want to talk to Rob, I'm like, great. Isn't that awesome? They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to talk to me. I told my dad the whole story, and after months of years of arguing and the whole thing, he's like, well, isn't that what you wanted? And I was like, oh, you got that. Yeah, that's what I wanted. I don't want them to talk to me. I don't want to have any part of them because I can't understand it, and my conscience doesn't dictate that I should be a part of fraud and all that stuff. So that's where I am anyway, and it's been quite a journey. I've learned a lot in the last little while, and it's been an honor to work with Rob, and a pain, you know. But that's okay. We all accept each other for what we are. So anyway, Rob Menard is the next guy you're going to hear, and it's an honor to introduce him to you. And so, are you coming back out here? It's all good.
Everybody, if we could have a massive hand for Robert Arthur Menard, Freeman on the Land, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, folks. Thanks, Clint. Folks, let's keep it going for Clint and Robert Christie over there. And also, while we're here, we've got a whole lot of giants in the movement here. We've got Mary Elizabeth Croft right here. Let's have a round of applause for her, folks. If you haven't read her book, you can check it out on the internet. I'm not going to tell you the title. Just Google Mary Elizabeth Croft, because I don't remember the title to it. How I Clobbered Every Cash Confiscatory. She can't find a publisher because of the title. Folks, we also have some other people here. We've got Reverend Belanger back there. Let's have a round of applause for him. Mr. Gordon Schiller is in the audience. No, he can stay sitting. Folks, these people have done a whole lot of work on this movement, and I might, the way I look at it, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. So if I can see a little bit further than they can, it's only because of the work that they have done. Who here is anyone here from Valley View? Are you? Okay, I'm going to talk about that place then. Oh my God. Little quick story for you before I start on the law. I used to do stand-up comedy. I go into Valley View, Alberta, Bama is how I call it. I go in there at 6 o'clock in the morning. I go in for breakfast. I sit down. I'm the only person in this restaurant. I order bacon and eggs. I'm not even going to talk about the bacon or the eggs. Hash browns. I figure if you're a cook in Canada, you better know how to make hash browns. My hash browns come. They're about 3 chunks of potato the size of softballs. They look like they were boiled for 3 minutes, rolled off, fell onto the grill, rolled onto my plate. I cut them open. They're raw in the center. The waitress comes over. She says, is everything okay? I said, no, these potatoes, they're raw in the center. Look at that. She said, oh, that's how the cook cooks them. I said, darling, when the end product is raw, you have no right using the word cook either as a noun or a verb. They're not cooked. She said, well, that's how the cook cooks them. I said, well, I can't eat them. She said, well, that's how the cook cooks them. I said, okay, watch this. This is how the customer doesn't pay for them. Take them away and take them off my bill. She looked at me like I had just asked her to squash a litter of puppies with a fridge. She said, I can't do that. I said, why not? She said, I punch a button, the bill comes up, I have to charge you what's on that bill. I said, okay, I think I can help you out here. How much is a side of potatoes? $1.50. How much is my large milk here? $1.50. I said, fine, take away the potatoes and don't charge me for the milk. She looked at me like I was from another planet. You know what she said? Milk? How can you do that? I said, because of the potatoes. She looked at me and she won the argument. She said, milk ain't potatoes. Right then I realized when she asked me, is everything okay? To her, that was just a rhetorical question. So I asked her, I said, why do you even bother asking me, is everything okay, if there's absolutely nothing you can do about it when it's not? I thought I broke her. She wandered off, talked to the manager, came back, said, would you like a complaint form? I look in the kitchen, there's 2 cooks, 3 waitstaff, the manager, I'm the only customer in there. They can't cook potatoes, but they have complaint forms all ready for me. I said, you better bring me 2 of them. She brought me 2, I put my potatoes in it, wrapped it up, said, here, you put that on the manager's desk. So I go upstairs at 6 o'clock in the morning. I go upstairs to try to sleep on what is essentially a pile of springs with a little bit of cloth on top of it. 11